right. Well, thanks for coming out. We've got a little bit of a session here. We kind of popped this up at the last minute to fill some space. I almost said fill some slots, but we're not going to go that way.
We're not Vegas,
so,
and we're not gambling.
There you go. So
eventually, yes.
See how I saved that one?
So first off, before I get started, you notice all of us are drinking. I just want to say thank you to HP for providing this alcohol for us and everything.
Yeah.
We're big fans.
We'll get started with some introductions. We are the VDB, and so we'll start with some introductions on who is part of the VDB. We'll start with you.
Sure. I'm Jason Langer at virtuallanger.com and at JSlanger on Twitter. Kind of known for VCP and VCAP study guides.
I'm Jim Millard at Miller JK, and I am one of the leaders for the Kansas City VMUG. I also am one of the lunatics that does the VM Underground.
And thank you for doing that.
I'm Tim Jabut. I'm an enterprise solutions architect with BB&T Bank. Is that better? Enunciate. Enunciate.
Put it up to your mouth.
It is an unfamiliar position.
Put it up to your mouth.
Put it up to my mouth.
Speaking of the microphone.
Anyways, I'm Tim Jabut. I'm an enterprise solutions architect with BB&T Bank. I'm also the Raleigh, North Carolina VMUG leader, and I'm kind of known for being one of the creators of the VDB.
And he's VM Cutlip on Twitter. I don't know if he said that. I wasn't paying attention to him.
Well, I was too busy stumbling over where I was supposed to position the mic.
I'm Tim Antonowitz, at Tim Ants on Twitter. I'm a VCDX, number 112. I am the senior member of the VDB. A bunch of young people I've tried to keep up with, but it doesn't work. And it's just trouble all around.
I am Mike Preston at MW Preston on Twitter, and MWPreston.net is my blog. And I am the Senior Vice President of the VDB Canadian establishment.
And I'm Damian Carlson. I am 6footDad on Twitter. I have been involved with the vBrownbag for a few years. Seen it grow, world's largest virtualization podcast.
Yeah.
I was one of the VM Underground and vBrownbag opening acts planners. Wildly successful, best party ever.
Thanks,
yeah,
Damien.
It's pretty great. And my nickname is 12-Step. So there we go.
And I guess that's it comes to me next, but I've been up here quite a few times now. But I'm James Bowling, vCentral on Twitter. I also blog at vcentral.com. I work for a partner, principal of the data center practice for GDT, and the Houston VMUG leader, and also a proud member of the VDB, right? But so what I wanted to talk about a little bit first was let's kind of talk about the conference, how it's been for us. You know, what things have enticed you while you're here? Anyone?
Excited me?
Yeah.
Excited you.
Keep it clean.
What has excited me? Let's see.
Keep it clean.
The kids are watching.
Honestly, for me, this was my first year as a strategic partner and a TAM-based customer that gave us access to. There's a whole additional side of VMworld that once you get to a certain level, business-wise that is, enterprise-wide, that opens up to you private PM meetings, private TAM sessions, smaller sessions. Past 2 years, I've gone around with everybody else to the regular sessions, but there's a lot of value in these small focus group type sessions, meetings with product managers, the R&D team, being able to add value and input with my team members out here as far as forward-thinking products. They're stuff that can't be disclosed under NDA, but it's nice to actually that they are asking for input and to have input. That's about it.
So one of the things that should be a continuous thread from all of our introductions was that we're all very much community-oriented folks. And one of the things that excites me about coming out here is being able to see people in real life, that we have long relationships via Twitter and some of the other social media platforms, but being able to put faces with names is one of the better parts of coming out here. And of course, that's part of what VM Underground is all about, is getting a chance to do just that.
Right. Yeah. You brought up a point about us all being involved socially. You know, we're involved in the community, and I think I speak for most of us when I say that's an extremely important piece for us. You know, we take it very serious, and we always enjoy coming to things like this because of the reasons you stated, right? Let's talk a little bit about building a brand, though, because we're a little social club looking thing, right? You know, we get a lot of people that walk up to us and ask what this VDB thing is, right? So we built this brand up, apparently, that people...
By wearing shirts.
Yeah, literally by wearing shirts, okay? There was nothing more to it, just other than wearing a shirt. But
We made stickers. Yes.
but we built a brand. Now, how can somebody who's looking to get into the community, you know, do something similar? You know, we all blog, or most of us blog, and we're all on Twitter. You know, so what are some of the things that you would tell someone to get started with that?
Content, blogging.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, you
Content.
asked the
Content.
simple question.
That's
It's
great.
Content.
Thank you,
I-
Langer. You were done.
I'm done. That's all.
I think consistency is paramount as well. You know, you got to have a certain cadence for things. While I don't blog like I should, God knows I get enough flack. But we do make sure. I mean, think about our actions all year long leading up to VMworld, right? You know, we have hangouts all the time. We get together. These are the 12 of us in the VDB. None of us knew each other outside of VMworld. You know, we connected on Twitter. We connected through social media. Then we all came here, met each other in real life, and realized, hey, we shared an awful lot of common core values. But when we formed our group, it was we basically created a brand, and we basically created we also created an arch nemesis in the Cloud Bunnies. We really it started. The original intent was to create a dodgeball team. Was the original intent. Now, where we take it from there is another story, and we'll figure out where we're going with that. But we tweet all year long, poking jabs and talking smack at the Cloud Bunnies. So that keeps our brand out in the public venue, and it's good fun. I mean, there's some of the best people in the community right here at VMworld. I would just say, get active, stay active, keep a cadence to it. So if you do something at VMworld and then you don't do anything again until next VMworld, don't expect people to know you.
Right.
You know, and don't be afraid. I mean, we're all the same.
So you talk about not being afraid. I actually brought that up during the opening acts thing. We talked a little bit about the fear involved with social media and putting yourself out there. You know, I know for me, one of the biggest fears that I had initially when I was trying to get out in the community was I didn't want to be critiqued. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't want people to hate me for who I was or the things I was saying, right? Now, and he's out. He's like, forget it. I can't talk about this.
He's taking a beer.
Okay. So priorities. But anyway, so that fear, you know, how would one overcome that fear, you know, of going and posting a blog post, as a matter of fact, and somebody coming up telling you're wrong, Langer. I know you think you're right, but you're wrong.
Well, understanding that you can make mistakes and you just have to correct them and get feedback. I mean, I put my blog posts out there. I don't like to read them after I write them because I don't think I write very well. I don't project, but you're always your own worst critic, you know, and I've had Mike look at posts, you know, Josh Cohen and I always go back and forth with posts because it's always good to get a second set of eyes. But you just have to just take the plunge and just do it. You know, if there's typos, you know, people will correct your spelling or your grammar for you. But as long, thanks, Jim. But as long as the ideas are there and the content is accurate, that's the main thing. I mean, if you're worried about punctuation and, you know, that, I'd just get over it. Just get it out there and get people reading it. So,
yeah.
So in no way would I consider myself to be a prolific blogger, but the way that I started out was just basically turning it into a public notepad. So instead of keeping all this private OneNote stuff to myself, I would create posts that then I could refer back to. And you know it's fulfilling when you need to solve a problem, you Google it, and one of your own posts is in the first 10. So that should be your validation that you're doing the right thing. You may not have anybody following you or paying attention to what you're writing, so first thing is, until you're out there, nobody's going to critique you because nobody's going to know you're doing it. So get ahead of steam. Put stuff out there just for your own reference. And yeah, maybe you do want to go back and correct some of the typos and that kind of thing, just for the sake of it. But it's the better side of internet anonymity that you have, that nobody knows who you are in the forums and stuff like that, so you can be a real turd ball by the same token.
Turd ball? Are you kidding me? Was that you trying to keep it clean?
I've got a 7 and a 10-year-old. Okay. I learn these things. But by the same token, if you're shy about getting out there and worried about criticism, don't make a big splash and say, hey, look at me, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Just put stuff out there that is brain dumps or whatever it is that helps you. Don't worry about trying to be the authority. And as you grow in your community, you'll get feedback from people that are either positive or hopefully constructive criticism. Again, sometimes under that guise of internet anonymity.
Or occasionally you'll get tweets from random people that are making fun of your height.
Wow. And well, they should.
Apparently everybody's sitting down and people can't tell that I'm standing up. They just, I don't know.
Taking that thread along, every time you put something out, you run the risk of being criticized, but you also run the risk of helping someone else, which, for every time that somebody says, I read your blog post and it's wrong and you're doing something different, well, somebody else will come up and says, I read your post about recovering a virtual machine and it saved my tail end and saved our company $100,000 or something like that. And it's like, oh, thanks. So you get the good and the bad and just wash off the bad. And if you're wrong, you go back and look at it and say, wow, I really was wrong. Fix the post.
Yeah, I've told this story I don't know how many times. I actually met Mike at VMworld 2011 in a blogger session with John Schroyer. And I didn't have any intent in becoming a blogger or doing any of that. But I checked it out, and he's like, well, what do you want to blog about? And I have no idea. And he's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm studying for my VCP5 right now. And he's like, well, how are you doing that? I'm like, well, I'm taking a lot of notes. And he's like, well, there's your blog. He's like, just take those notes and put them out on the internet.
Wait, he told you?
No, John Schroyer.
Oh,
but I'm just saying Mike was there as well.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
He didn't tell me anything.
For competition.
But that's just where it started. I was already...
What's that all about? Yeah, there we go.
But I was already documenting it anyway. I was just keeping it for myself, and then I just put it out there. And that's really how it all started. So, and I think Mike started kind of the same way.
Yeah, really what I do is just anything that I tend to run into that gives me any sort of problem, I just throw it up there. And it's really weird that some of the most popular blog posts are the ones that I've written in like 10 minutes. And not even about virtualization per se. So things like expanding.
About virtualization?
That's what I said, yeah. Not even about it. It's just things like expanding a Linux disk with Gpart. It's my #1 blog post, so yeah.
And I'm going to start blogging about how to be friends with a Canadian, and like language differences, and
the metric system. The metric system.
Just don't let us in your house.
Yeah.
Just don't let us in.
You're not allowed in the house. No.
But go ahead.
So I spoke at Seattle VMUG.
Thank you.
Thanks, Seattle VMUG. About social media and careers and why you should get involved because it's good for your career. Because you have a much wider reach. If you're not involved in a technical community, and let's say, yes, you should get involved. And the reason why is, let's say, if you're looking for a new job, right? What are your social circles? Home, church, neighbors, grocery store, right? Yeah, there's not really a whole lot. Liquor store. Hey, what's up, Bob? Yeah, the usual. You want a 6-pack of shame? All right. Yes. So, if you're involved in social media, you can reach out to people. And in fact, that was probably the most significant turning point in my career now was because of Twitter. A guy that I'm now really good friends with was looking for someone, and his buddy said, hey, Damien's pretty cool. You should talk to him. And because of that interaction, even though I'd never met him before, I actually got a very good paying job, and it was awesome. That's not the only reason why. There's also semi-rewarding acquaintanceships, but questionable.
I got my current job because of VMUG.
Well, I have a similar story.
People I met through
Yeah,
VMUG.
talked
That's
enough.
Always have a
another
story.
social group that I've got my current job. I got recruited by one of the guys that is a former VMUG leader in Omaha. I'm from Kansas City. I met him in 2009, and 2012, just through that connection, he let me know, hey, we've got this role open in Kansas City. You ought to go for it. And I did.
Yeah. So the job that I'm actually in now was because of something similar. I left a company, and when I walked...
You were fired.
Fired.
I was not fired. I was not fired. Okay, I left the company. We're going to keep it that way. I left the company, and when I walked out the door, I sent out a tweet that I was looking for a new place to land, and literally...
Left of your own volition, though.
Yes.
That's your story.
You were not carried out.
No, I was not carried out. Not of that one. That was a different one. No. Anyways, I sent out a tweet, and literally within a couple of hours had interviews set up because of people seeing that tweet go out. And, I mean, it just shows you the power of the community and being involved. It totally speaks to the reach aspect of it. We come here and we get to make all these connections, but half the time if you make that connection, you forget about that connection when you walk out the door. Now, if you get involved in social media, those connections are always in your face.
You
they're
guys
there.
have no idea the tag cloud that we have going for a month leading up to this event. I mean, it would need a full-blown Hadoop cluster to analyze that much data.
Yeah.
And it's mostly Facebook stickers.
It is more. There is an awful lot of stickers and memes.
Yeah.
We will agree.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that Tim hasn't dropped any names yet since we've been up
Yeah,
here.
this is true.
We're waiting for some name drops. You got any for us?
I only dropped the mic once earlier today. I'm all good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yes, I'm now an honorary Dutchman. Thanks, Frank D.
Yeah. So, I guess we have about 10 more minutes or so? Yeah? 2 more minutes? Oh, so we got an hour then. We're taking this over.
No, they want to hear from smart people next.
Right.
Y'all want to hear from the actual smart guys, not from these guys. No, so.
Better make it about 1 more minute.
What?
It's like Jason Nash with a Starbucks.
Oh, and there was the name drop.
And the name dropper drops it.
No, so let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we've seen here that have been kind of controversial. You? Not me. Not me. I'm not controversial.
So who wants to be brave?
Yeah. That's not what I'm talking about.
Informative. Brave.
Any takers? Any takers? No one's going to bite?
Controversial. VMware integrated OpenStack. Super cool. I think it's a great idea. They should. But I've already seen some kind of feedback out, within the blog community about, you would only want to do VMware with OpenStack, with legacy architectures. And great, there is an opinion on all sides, but I would say that's been a point of controversy, probably not here, but, within the larger virtual distributed brain trust, right? Yeah, so that's one. Who's next? You haven't spoken. I know you're worried about mooses and...
Who's got the modem?
Yeah. We call that a mouse in America.
Well then, okay. Well, since nobody else wants to
seriously.
take anything, then does anybody have any questions for these fine gentlemen up here?
Please no.
Excluding
Lies.
myself.
Just buy a bunch of T-shirts.
So the question was how do you get people to start following you? Well, I can't answer that question for you, but that young lady right here, she can answer that question for you.
I can answer that. Well, yeah, let
okay.
the cheater come up.
No, go ahead,
let
Tim.
the
Answer the
volleyball
question.
cheater come up. Okay. In my sense, get people to follow you by participating. One of the easiest ways to do that is get involved with the vBrownbags on Wednesdays. Get in there, participate in the Twitter stream during the Brown Bag, offer your comments, do whatever, and get involved. You'll start getting that cycle of people that are listening to you, and they'll start following you, and you start growing a mass that continues to grow with, 5 people follow you, and then they follow other people as they retweet, and all of a sudden you have 10, 20, 30 followers without batting an eye. It's like, oh,
That's
cool.
a lot for him. 10, 20,
Yeah,
or 30.
10 to
Just
20.
saying.
Yeah.
I'd just say, my biggest thing's been engagement. Just talking with people, replying to people, what they have to say. Just as soon as someone engages with me, normally I follow them back. I just do.
So now let's give it to the
And,
real de facto standard person who can really answer this question.
Tweet. Tweet like no one's watching. I think if you go out to be followed, nobody will. So you have to do your own thing, be true to yourself. And if you're not a jerk in real life, then don't be a jerk on Twitter. Although you could try it on for a new personality. But, just saying. But
Now, did she say that just because she was sitting up here with the VDB?
Am I honorary now that I stomped y'all?
Oh, no.
Still a cloud bunny.
Yeah, you are our arch
cheater.
nemesis.
They're so angry that I cheated better than them. Winning.
Winning.
There's going to be an asterisk around that.
Moving on.
Moving on. No, he's got something
So
to say.
the other piece to that is there's following of each of us as individuals, and then there's this weird thing that happened when we had our synergy and kind of became visible as VDB. And so it's not clear from your question which one you're talking about. So the first part is just create content. Don't worry about somebody liking it. People will follow you or they won't. That's part of the beauty of Twitter. Us, it's just this crazy thing where we just got visible. We literally just printed the shirts and created buzz. And the thing that's really interesting about this is when we describe the membership and the credentials that we have technically as well as our community contacts, there's potential, James alluded to that, where who knows where we could go with this professionally. We are all still working our day jobs, but in the back of our mind there's this idea that we've got some chops. And we could, if we chose to be brave, we could go and do something really powerful and special with it. And it's all based on a drinking club.
He said special. He called us special.
Raw and unfiltered.
Raw and unfiltered, baby. Raw and unfiltered. That, if you have questions about that last comment, please ask that guy right there. I'm sure he will tell you all about it, but we're not going to talk about it here. But anyway, so maybe I think we only have a few minutes, so let's get some kind of closing thoughts, on what all's going on here, how it's been, and we'll let you finish it up.
Well, no, I want to comment on the collective because you were just saying to wrap that up. I think for anybody who is looking to get started, you can be phrasing. You can look to get started as an individual, but there's great power in the collective group and just. Being on the vendor side, when we're looking to sponsor people, like we sponsored vBrownbag, it becomes interesting. It becomes interesting to vendors to work with groups that have an LLC or a name behind them. As silly as that sounds, and as silly as the name you come up with, we call bloggers citizen analysts. Like there's always another way to spin
analyst,
it.
I like that.
Yeah, right. So maybe you can become a citizen analyst group.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah. And that way a think tank, you can get paid to do what you love. So just a little tip for making yourself, more visible. So you guys have done a great job, except
Awesome.
at dodgeball. I'm going to run now.
Oh, wow. All right. So So with that being said, you know, if you guys want to talk to us more, we're around here. That's how it starts, right? We appreciate y'all letting us fill this slot.
We'll be at the bar.
Yeah, we'll be at the bar.